Oh, that's kind of weak. Good evening. Welcome to the Ferguson City Council meeting for January the 14th, January the 28th, I'm sorry. For the opening ceremony, meeting is now called to order. Let us stand for a silent prayer. Okay.
Dear Lord, please continue to give our officers the strength and support that they need, including PJ. Continue to protect us and bring our world to peace. And Lord, thank you to all of our first responders, firefighters, and police officers who continue to protect our community.
The pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Noah,
Here.
Councilman Palmer,
Here.
Councilman Cassoff,
Here.
Councilwoman Robinette. She's on her
Here.
way.
She's here. She's on Zoom.
Councilwoman Robinette, can you hear us?
There she is.
Is she muted?
I think you're frozen.
Yeah, she is frozen.
She's here, but I can't,
I'll
we can't
text
hear her
her.
right now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Councilwoman Lipka. Here. Councilman Williams,
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here, a quorum is present. At this time, Councilman Cassoff.
Before we proceed, I'd like to make a motion to remove Bill 7303 from second reading.
So moved. Linda Lipka.
No, you would be seconding.
Second, Linda Lipka, sorry.
Okay, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Bill number 7303 has been removed from the agenda tonight, which is the bill on occupants permit. We are now going to part two, our public comments. We ask that you state your name, where you live. You have 3 minutes. We have been doing good, not going over 3 minutes. So Clerk Pittman, who do you have first?
Not quite ready yet, Mayor.
Okay.
1 second, we still have somebody signing.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Well, once again, everyone, look around. This is our beautiful new council chambers. So thank Clerk Pittman for doing the work of rehabbing and refurbishing and having our council chambers up to date. So we thank you again, Clerk Pittman.
First, we have, sorry about that. Henry Awenofu.
Good evening, council member, mayor, and the citizens. I am here to address a common issue that's been going with one of the council members. Mr. Kassoff decided to publish my address and telephone number on the social media. I'm not running against Mr. Kassoff. I have never had any conversation other than reply to the things that he said about me. I don't know what he's trying to do. Whether he's trying to get some people to harass me or call me. I've gotten several emails and I will be reporting that to the appropriate authority. I didn't get a chance to do it over the weekend because my mother was sick and I've been in the hospital dealing with that situation. Last time that I made a comment when the council was holding, I left early and some council member made a comment that Mr. Henry should fight like a man. I am a man. I always fight like a man, but there's venues for everywhere to fight. It is the responsibility of this council under your charter to hold a council member, and I'm report is 3.43 interference with administration. Mr. Kassoff and Mr. Palmer has done that, and I've spoken to citizens and I'm collecting data. If the council will not make a motion to remove these people for violation of city charter, we'll do it in an appropriate manner. And I also want to direct this to council members who are landlords that are intimidating their tenants from voting. It is a violation and is a crime. So whatever you're doing, we're collecting data. It is a different forum and a different fight for the citizen. It is uncalled for an individual who's a public servant, who's elected by the citizens, to intimidate the citizen because he has an opportunity to sit on this august bench. It is unfortunate that we have people who act in that manner. But I also want them to understand we do not have a monarch. We have a democracy. And in the democracy, the people decide who rules them. And those people who are not abiding by the laws will face the consequences of it. So I'm asking folks, please understand that you're a public servant and you're not a king or queen. So it is imperative that you cease and desist from doing that. Mr. Kassoff, I will oblige you to stop putting my information outside. There's no reason to put my telephone and my house address. If people want to find me, they will. And I will appreciate it. I respect you as a gentleman, and I will appreciate you do the same. We can fight in the right forum, and I'm good and well equipped to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Shirley Emerson.
Good evening, Mayor, and City
evening.
Council. I'm Shirley Emerson, I'm a resident of Ferguson at 261 Royce Drive. In light of the fact that each of you are elected to represent us, we're asking that you postpone your voting on bills 7301, 7302, and 7303. Instead, we're asking that you set a special meeting at a time in which each of you can be available to attend so that you can entertain our concerns, our questions, and that we can engage each of you in a dialogue regarding these bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson.
Adrian Shropshire.
Good evening, council.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, citizens. I'm a very understanding person, but I've had some issues with Councilman Kassoff. He humiliated my wife at the home of Jill Holtrup. He made a comment about her hair. And I didn't appreciate it, but I was man enough not to take action. He's been to my house. I feel I'm being targeted. He's been to my home and took pictures of my car with license plates. I forgot to change them out. And how he got that information, I'll never know. Just the other day, he put online that my home didn't have an inspection in 20 years. I moved here 30 years ago when you probably were just getting out of high school.
So you haven't had one in 30
And
years?
there's no record. As you know, when you switch over to automation, there's a lot of records. And please don't interrupt me, sir. There's a lot of records that don't move forward. I had expert inspections from a company and the city. So you won't find it because 20 years, 30 years ago, they're not available. Something needs to be done. I try to be nice. I try to be kind. And I'm not going to put up with any more of Mr. Kassoff's remarks. I am a voting citizen. I pay my taxes, and I don't have to take crap from him. Council Lady Robinette was there, and I let her know what he said about my wife. And I don't appreciate it. And council, I'm asking you to listen to us on a special meeting I'd like for the council to set the time, set the day, that you could hear us on the three bills that are on the agenda this evening. I did some research on short-term rentals, which we don't have any ordinance for short-term rentals right now. But I think we need to have some to be available, because we don't want citizens to come in and rent for 1 day or 2 days. I've looked at the city of St. Louis, and they do have some stringent rules. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your help on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shropshire.
Mildred Klein.
Mildred Klein's 7444 Castro, a 37-year residence, Protestantism, Judaism, Islam, Catholicism, Christianity, atheism, Mormonism, and other religions. Good evening, Mayor Jones and City Council. At the last City Council meeting on January the 14th, the request was made to us in the council chamber to stand for a silent prayer. Councilwoman Lipka proceeded to pray out loud. Although I am a Christian, I also appreciate and acknowledge other religions that make up the Ferguson community. So unless all other religions are invited to pray out loud according to their faith, I ask that we please follow protocol of silent prayer. On another very important issue, since April year 2023, Mike Palmer has been sitting up there in a seat that is supposed to represent my ward, Ward 3, and its residents. In the past, before this same council that's represented here tonight and on Zoom, I've raised my concerns and objections several times, stating that Mike Palmer resides at number 2 Briarwood. All of you have been complicit and have done nothing to ensure accountability or due diligence, while Ward 3 residents go underrepresented. Many of us Ward 3 residents have overworked our only legally seated council representative, Councilwoman Naquita Noor, because how can one turn to someone you can't trust and lacks integrity? Ward 3 deserves better, and not someone who is self-aggrandizing. On another important issue, can we please have a special meeting where the council members listen to the residents concerning bills 7201, 7302, and 7303? We have concerns and input that we want you to hear before you take a vote on these bills. Also, City Manager John Hampton, thank you for elaborating on the resolutions and bills so that we, the residents that are in attendance, have a better understanding on what the council is voting on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kleins.
Jamil Franklin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jamil Franklin, 427 Church Street. So I wanted to start off by saying I wanted to commend Councilman Cassoff for removing this bill from the agenda. And I hope for the foreseeable future it doesn't return. Over the last several weeks, there's been a lot of debate between myself, several council members, and residents of Ferguson over social media about whether or not occupancy permits and inspections are important or whether or not they need to go away. We've been told by our council members that some of the benefits to removing it is, well, you know, they're rooted in racism. And so, you know, when you hear that as a Black man, it gets your attention. So as Councilman Williams suggested 2 weeks ago, do your homework, do your research. So there was you guys told us that it was tied to redlining. Redlining started in 1933 and it officially ended in 1968 by the Fair Housing Act. Occupancy permits and inspections did not become a thing in Ferguson until 1985. Afterwards, there was a shift in the demographics. Prior to the 70s, Ferguson was about 90 to 98% white, you know, and it has gradually shifted since then. So I don't see the correlation between occupancy and redlining because it wasn't a thing when that was occurring in our nation, anywhere in the country. We also heard that, hey, occupancy inspections, they take up the majority of the time for the inspectors. So I haven't heard that anywhere else in the county. I don't know if that's happening in the city. I hope our city manager can chime in and let us know if indeed staff are being overwhelmed by inspections with occupancy. And then the last thing I heard was, hey, there's a lawsuit. Municipalities are being sued because occupancy permits are illegal and an unfair tax potentially as it relates to the Hancock Amendment. That was said by a council member. It was put on social media for all to see. This was what allegedly our lawyer said. Well, I work for government. I kind of have a good understanding of ordinances and lawsuits throughout the county. And what it is it's not occupancy that they're suing for in Bell Fountain. It's an imposed fee, or in the landlord's opinion, it's a tax on top of occupancy. $300 per rental property in that city, even if it's occupied. They say, hey, that's unlawful. So occupancy in St. Louis County is lawful. And I think as council members, when you make statements here and on social media, it needs to be from a place of fact, not your opinion, not your emotion, because people listen to you just because you are council members or their relationships with you. I like to come from a place of facts. There's another thing I got criticized about the school district. I found out today that occupancy permits are not required in Ferguson, Florissant School District for children. You can use, and that's because some municipalities in the district don't require that in their occupancy. So they removed that, and there's 10 or 12 different ways you can do it. You can go on their website. Just wanted to clear that up. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Erica Brooks.
Ms. Brooks?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I know a few years ago, city debated about rebranding the city of Ferguson. Spend thousands of dollars to have a new face, but have the same spirit that rolled around in this place. Same actions. And Nick, you had a recall for Tony Burrell to be removed out of office. And these things and actions that you all are displaying are the same things. It's a different face, but the same actions that's going on in this administration. When it comes to, like you say, personal benefit, you know, I went out my way to sign that petition. I signed it because, like I said, when I told you, said, is it a personal vendetta with her? No, nothing's personal. She's she was supposed to be a voice for our community to speak up for us. I said, I don't care what color she is. I don't care who she is. It's who she represents, and that was me. So to have you sit there and these other people sit here and did not show up to hear our voices and our concerns the other night did not make sense. I don't care how you don't like whatever it is, because the mayor ordered it. You all showed us as supposed to be our voices, not because you all got elected by certain people and you figure, well, you say all the time, David, that well, we serve the whole community. But when you didn't sit there in that seat, that says I don't service you. I service the people that voted me in, that gave me the money to sit there. Because like I said, if you open and equal to everybody in this community, you're gonna make sure that every concern that we have is either, like I said, listened to. I mean, you don't have to like everything. You know, I know you complain about, you know, I have a hard day, we have a hard life. Now, we all have hard lives and decisions that happen in our lives or whatever, but as the person that's voted in, no matter what ward you're sitting in, you should have at least showed up to be able to hear what our concerns were for that bill, even if you don't want it. So when it comes to wasting all this money about, you know, we want to look different because we don't want people to look at Ferguson because of Mike Brown, your actions are showing the same discrimination that it did when we had profile police profiling, and I got profiled in 13. So I'm not speaking from a place of fiction or feelings. I'm talking about facts. So when it comes to anything that affects us out here, what it does when you all separated, that was a segregated move. A segregated move. When you tell me that you can't hear the majority of voices out here, the people that's asking you to please listen to us. That's what that was. Because like I said, I've lived more of history of segregation and racism and bigotry out here in Ferguson than I've ever read about. You caused me to buy books to understand what I'm living right here in Ferguson. You know, so when you talk about your experience as a kid or whatever, all that stuff is personal. But when it comes to sitting on our seat and representing our city, that's real. That's business. Because you have my livelihood in your hands. And I would appreciate it if you all, even if y'all come up with something that you find, you tell us in our face, oh, well, you know, this is not this. Okay, well, show us the facts. Show us how it's not going to affect us and then personally benefit you all. So like I said, when I come here, I thought about that leaf y'all got that's flying. What does that leaf even represent? What does it represent? I mean, because you have the same feeling from your ancestors that sat here and segregated in this community, profile in this community. You didn't live here. No, you're not from here. But like I said, I'm not from here either, but I've been here long enough to experience racism and like I said, segregation, and for our own people to you know, bring their own self down, it doesn't make sense. You know, like I said, at least hear us. And Apollo, you know, like I said, when it comes to this election, and you know, Linda Lipker has been told several times, especially during certain elections, don't electioneer on this dais. She give her feelings and emotions about certain candidates. If it's anything, it should be, you know, that's a personal time. State taxes pay for this time. It's time for us to be represented, not to promote one person's election. That's unfair. That's unfair to spend our time for her to promote Mike Palmer on this dais. And Mayor, I would appreciate it if you park that stuff during these meetings when she's spitting out her mouth about how, you know, Henry has to fight. That doesn't make, that's unfair to our community. I would appreciate it if you somebody get this stuff in line, city manager. Somebody park this when she's up there electioneering for one person in our community. That's not fair. That's not our whole voice. Every person up here represents Ferguson. So when she wanna, you know, rant about, you know, supporting Mike Palmer, do it on her time, not on our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce.
Ronald Owens.
Hello, everyone.
Good
My name is
evening.
Arnold, 108 Fenway Drive. I guess it was the 7303 is the bill for the occupancy permits.
7303.
Yeah. I just got one thing is the occupancy permit should still stay in place in the city of Ferguson because it gives the residents an opportunity to know who is living next door to them, and the city knows who is occupying their neighborhoods as well. If anything should go down, you don't know who's who. You know, I move in and move out and bring somebody else in behind me. Nobody knows who's who brought into the home. So that bill should never be eliminated because it's for a good purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Owens.
Okay, online, I'm gonna go to, I have two online, LaRae Jackson.
Oh, okay, I typed it in there. I didn't know if you were gonna read it.
You on, Miss LeRae?
Oh, okay. My question, well, first, hello to everyone. I wanted to ask you about the occupancy permits as well. I recently heard that certain individuals are wanting to stop occupancy permits. And for one, I want to know why. And secondly, I want to know, this will cause a a grave, what happened? Are you still there?
Yes.
We
Okay,
hear,
it went,
we still listening.
okay, the screen went blank, so I couldn't tell. Without the occupancy permits, for one, we have safety and health and management of our homes in the areas and the people that live in those homes being accountable for how the property is taken care of. And without occupancy permits, that will allow for, the mentality of Ferguson, not just to decline, but the neighborhoods to decline. Is this the beginning of wanting the homes to become vacant so that they can be purchased cheaply? Or is there another agenda in the works here? I don't know. And I just want to know why occupancy permits is even on the issue. And if you're thinking about that, or you're thinking about replacing it with something. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LeRae.
Let me see what went wrong.
Last, I have Angela Morgan.
Where did it go?
Angela Morgan.
Octavia,
It looks,
in the notes earlier, when you and Ms. Snowden were chatting, Alan Mueller had put in there that he wanted to talk.
he went back and said that was okay,
Oh,
because the
okay.
bill was removed.
Okay.
Okay.
So Angela Morgan is not coming forward, but she does have in here, what are the advantages of removing occupancy permits? Who
I
benefits from this?
apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was unable to
Here
come
she
off.
is.
1846 Elkins Drive. I'll remove my comments and I look forward to an open forum to discuss the issues on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No.
You have heard the public comments. I just would like to say to people who have asked for another special meeting, and I hope that council will look at the calendar and come up with a date for the special meeting. Public comments is closed, and we move to the manager's report. City Manager John Hampton.
Mayor and council, it's a pleasure being here. I do not have a long city manager report. I just got 3 things I want to touch. First off, the fire department did ice training this past week. I just want to remind everyone, stay off any ice, especially as it warms up. It is not safe. It may look safe, but it is not safe. We had a gentleman out there Saturday at JWP. We sent PD out to make sure that he got off the ice. But please, if you see someone on there, call 911 and or, try to talk them off the ice. The other thing is, if you are starting to see potholes with the warming of the temperatures, please, you can email myself, Corey Gilbert, and or Dave Musgrave. And then the last thing, with the warm weather coming in, we're gonna start seeing some water main breaks. Again, you can call me, Dave, Corey, or the water company itself. They should have a number, and I will get that to Miss Octavia, and she'll put it online. And that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you for the manager's report. Council, you have any questions for City Manager Hampton?
I do, Mayor. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Miss Councilwoman Noah.
Okay, just right quick, City Manager Hampton, would you explain to residents how they can go about registering for the transportation to attend the status hearing on Tuesday, February 4th?
Assistant Manager, please.
Yeah, I can answer that, Councilwoman Noah. Just like in years previous, if they call the community center, 314-521-4661, there's a sign-up sheet there at the front desk to sign up for next Tuesday. It will depart from the community center, and the community center can relay the times and all that stuff when they call. As of today, we did not have anybody signed up. We do need you to pre-register no later than Monday at lunch so that we know we need a driver that day. But just call the community center number and they can take care of the front desk.
Thank you, Councilwoman Noor. Any other council person? Hear none. Manager's report is closed. We move to special presentation. We don't have one for tonight. Public hearing, we don't have none for tonight. So we move to the consent agenda. We have city council meeting minutes, regular meeting for 1/14/25 and special meeting minutes for 1/14/25, 1/21. I'm requesting a motion in a second to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Yes.
Beforehand.
W-
Um,
1 minute, and we could get it on a question. Is there a second?
Second, Naquita Noah.
Okay, now I open for questions.
So when you go to the agenda in our packet and you hit the hyperlink, it is not open. So I don't know how anyone could on council could read through the notes before they approve it.
Your hyperlink did not open.
No, and I have tried it many different times. I meant to call you and let you know, and I apologize for not getting that done. Got busy, but I was hoping that maybe a couple days later it would work, because sometimes that happens, but it never, it goes to the website, but it says, sorry, page cannot be open. So my question is, do we really want to approve something we haven't had a chance to read through?
So who else had problems with the hyperlink?
Did anybody else try?
Yeah, they're working. I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah, I just read them.
If yours worked, then I would say go right ahead with the vote. Mine did not.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at them right now and they are working.
You,
Okay, I
uh,
can show you mine don't open. See.
Councilwoman Robinette, did you have problems with the link to open the minutes?
No, I did not.
Councilman Palmer,
I did not.
Councilman Noor?
I did not.
Okay,
I did it just now and it did not open, and then I just did it again to show you the page and it opened.
it opens, okay.
Mayor, if she hasn't had an opportunity, if you guys want to wait, and we can hold it over to the next.
No, I can scan it really quick because I was there that night. And I apologize. I seriously am not being a silly
Oh,
person.
okay.
It didn't open for
But if
me.
it does happen, if you know. we try to
And I
help
just
out.
tried to open it right now. That's when I said, I apologize, Mayor, that's when I interrupted you because mine hadn't opened even just now. And then when Mr. Kassoff said his worked and I hit it again, well, then it opened. So I don't understand what's going on.
She could abstain. And the rest,
You cannot vote. if
you can
want.
just abstain and the rest of us can vote.
Well-
You don't have to rush through reading it.
No, I'm okay. I mean,
Okay.
when you were at the meeting, you just recognize everything that
Okay.
happened in minutes, so
Okay.
I was there.
Okay, it has been properly moved and second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have one appointment tonight, Miss Renita Nelson. I had an opportunity to speak with her. She came as a recommendation from Councilman Cassoff for the economic development sales tax. We had a good conversation and I am recommending Miss Renita Nelson to be appointed to the Economic Development Sales Tax Board. It must be approved by the council. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I have it. Ms. Renita Nelson is appointed to the Economic Development Sales Tax Board. We don't have any
Aye.
requests tonight, proclamation. We move to the resolutions. We have resolution number 2025-01. Without objection, it was introduced by Councilman Cassoff. Attorney, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2025-01. The resolution of the city of Ferguson, Missouri regarding the appointment of the school district member to the Economic Development Sales Tax Commission.
If I recall, on the January 10th meeting, you wanted to look at this resolution and offer your opinion. Is that not correct?
Yes, I did that and I
Okay.
submitted it to the council.
Okay, City Council, do you want to amend this resolution on the recommendations that our city attorney has made?
I'd like to move to approve the resolution as it is written.
Is there any possibility of reviewing or kind of just giving us in a nutshell what that was again? Because that was a couple weeks ago and I've read many things since then.
I can do whatever the council pleases.
Would you please review your comments for the resolution, and then we will go to the city manager. Thank you, attorney.
Sure. So I don't know, is the resolution in the packet, or does everybody, the changes that I made to the resolution, does everybody have access to? Okay. So my suggestion was really to just make the resolution consistent with what the statute and the ordinance allow. Essentially, there was a section 1 that I recommended last time that we delete. Because I don't, at the end of the day, we want to interpret the state law and the ordinance in a way that does not disenfranchise any particular school district that has the right to vote. I do understand that practically, Ferguson Florissant has the majority of the school district. There's just like a little piece that's Jennings. However, if that piece is ever redeveloped, or we decide to, to expend funds within that piece, you don't want to write resolutions that, if the state law gives multiple school districts the right to vote, we don't want to write resolutions that take that away, right? Like you can't, through your resolutions, you don't want to limit what the state law allows you to do. So that was why I suggested that we delete section 1. Section 2, I just made some edits that I thought, essentially, I don't even know why this resolution is necessary, because if I've heard the council say already that, the city should just have nothing to do with the appointment to the school district appointment. The city has their appointments, this district has their appointments. I'm not quite sure why the city even needs to say anything about the school district appointments. However, if you look at section 2, in the edits that I made, I think those edits are just kind of consistent again with what the state law requires and what the ordinance allows. Essentially, the city should not have anything to say unless the school districts agree that the city can have something to say about it. And that's the only way that the city can ever have any input as it relates to the school district appointee. And so I just made section 2 say that. And that was pretty much it. There was some whereas clauses that were, I didn't necessarily know why we needed them. But obviously Councilman Kassoff wrote this so he can explain why we needed them. I didn't necessarily know why we needed them. I didn't think they were needed to say what we needed to say, so I suggested we delete those. And that was it.
Thank you, attorney. Councilman Kassoff, you want to state something?
Yes, first of all, regarding section 1. Section 1 previously said, as a matter of law, the Ferguson Florissant School District has sole authority. You pointed out that other districts could have a voice in it. You're correct. And so section 1 has been changed to state that on the basis of current facts at this moment, Ferguson Florissant has the sole authority. That being, the state law requires that in order to participate in the selection of an EDST representative, the city must have funded with EDST funds a project within that district. Now, there's other districts within the city of Ferguson, and in the future, they could have EDST funding of projects. And at that point, the state law would require that the various districts that were funded confer. At this point, that has not happened, and that's all that we say in section 1. Because of course, otherwise, how would anybody know that we didn't fund something in the Jennings School District or the Riverview Gardens School District or the Hazelwood School District, all of which have part of the city of Ferguson. As it happens, to this date, EDST funding has only taken place within the Ferguson Florissant School District. Therefore, the need to confer with these other districts doesn't exist. That's all that section 1 says, and it specifically says at this time, indicating that it might change in the future. This is a resolution, not an ordinance. If we were passing an ordinance that gave exclusive rights to Ferguson Florissant, that would be wrong. And as far as section 2 goes, you're right. The city doesn't have any voice, but there seemed to be some confusion about that. So section 2 merely says, we don't have a voice. It's unlawful for us to have a voice. And those affiliated with the city need to keep their hands off of that. These school districts have a representative, and so does St. Louis County, so that the EDST process in Ferguson has independent voices from the school district and from the county that we don't get to mess around with. And if we stick our finger on the scale for the school district or for the county for that matter, and try to interfere with their right to appoint their representative, that takes away the independence of their representative. And the purpose of this resolution is to make sure that the process is followed and that we as a city keep our hands off of it. And that is why I am moving to proceed with the resolution as written.
Councilwoman, Lipka.
So, couple of questions, Apollo, Mr. Kassoff, whoever wants to jump on it. So the EDST funds can only be used in retail, I'm sorry, let me back up. No revenue generated by the tax authorized in this section shall be used for any retail development project except for redevelopment of downtown and historic districts, right? So as far as downtown, what do you consider the definition? Is downtown South Florissant, New Florissant? Is downtown the Halls Ferry Chamber? Is downtown the West Florissant Chamber? Or is downtown what we've officially known as downtown, so to speak? So what would be the definition of downtown?
I don't think there is one.
Up. Point.
I will say, however, you've defined it in your zoning code, right? Like whatever is in the zoning code, there's some, there's definitions.
It's not a stupid question.
I would just say, whatever is the zoning code. However, the zoning code defines it, I would stick to, to that.
Okay. And then the historic district is basically downtown too.
I think the zoning code also defines that as well. Yeah.
So city manager or assistant city manager, since I don't have the zoning code smack dab in front of me.
We're getting that answer.
Okay. So and the reason I'm asking this question is because the definition of downtown, we don't all have it at our fingertips. Some of you may know it, some of you may know parts of it, but our city staff is pulling it up. So if our downtown can be defined as anything outside of the Ferguson Florissant School District, then that is what I'm trying to determine right now.
Okay.
She has the floor.
I'm just waiting for an answer from my assistant city manager and city manager.
So the form-based code.
I have not called for you to have the floor. Councilwoman Lipka still has the floor. She is waiting on an answer.
And I was gonna answer.
She pointed her question to the city manager and the assistant city manager who will give her an answer.
She's double checking the ordinance right now.
Okay.
I'll have an answer in a few, if we want to
Okay.
come back to this.
Okay,
I also did kind of.
go ahead, Councilwoman, you have the floor.
I did ask in the beginning of my questioning, and I directed it to our city attorney and to Mr. Kassoff. So if Mr. Kassoff does have some enlightenment that he would like to share, I would like to hear that while we continue to wait for our city manager.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Cassoff.
The form-based code has downtown zoning districts, which are basically just Florissant Road. I think part of Airport Road is DT3, maybe. 100% of the downtown zoning districts in the form-based code are in the Ferguson Florissant School District. That being said, I think it's an interesting question and one that the EDST Commission probably needs to talk about as to whether it's the downtown form-based code that determines what the downtown is. Because we might not have, if we didn't have that form-based code, then this downtown stretch here would just be zoned commercial. And the concern I have with saying, well, it has to say downtown in the form-based code is we are then excluding all of West Florissant from ever receiving any EDST funds.
Right.
And that's something that I think that the council members from Ward 3 would probably dislike, as well as the residents from Ward 3. I think probably there's people in Ward 3 that would like to see that spending be maybe a little more equitable in the future. That being said, we don't want to impose the downtown form-based code standards on West Florissant development. So, all of that's irrelevant to this resolution, which only applies to right now anyway. But since Councilor Lipka raised it, I think in order to have more equitable spending, we need to take a look at what that downtown restriction really means and see whether it is indeed possible for us to provide some economic development funding over on West Florissant as well.
So,
Go ahead.
thank you, ma'am. Apollo, you look like you had a comment as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that language that you read, where it talks about that no revenue generated can be used for retail development projects. My reading of that language is that it simply limits retail the use of those funds for retail development in those districts. The funds can be used for many other things outside of retail development. And so the only thing that language does is limits the use of the funds for retail development in those districts. I don't think it impacts at all what the resolution is about, which is, selecting the person or the city basically staying out of the selecting the person, which was why I deleted, or I suggested that we delete it.
Okay, so if we were to use EDST funds, which we do commonly on different things, do
Yeah.
those things then fall into different school districts?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay,
They could, but they haven't.
yes.
so this resolution had the phrasing in section 1 on the basis of current facts. And as Councilman Kassoff said, it is not an ordinance because that would be setting up boundaries that would be unlawful. But in the face of a resolution, which any council can remove the resolution or amend the resolution, we could, this is not going to, and we already have the Ferguson Florissant representative on the EDST now, as of our last council meeting, correct?
And you have Jennings serving as an alternate.
As an alternate, right? So those issues have been handled. And then have you found out anything yet? since?
Yes, so it goes from Thurman to the edge of our town on Florissant Road.
Okay, so
And-
that's all Ferguson Florissant.
Yes. Biggest thing is not limiting the EDST funds. Is should be the goal, just not limiting it.
Mhm.
No, and I'm not asking you to, I was just trying to get some kind of a definition for boundaryman, understanding.
My question becomes, are we going to accept the recommendation of our attorney?
I've moved to pass the resolution as it is.
Is there a second?
Second, David Williams.
Any other questions? before we go to that, Chief Hampton, do you have anything else to
I do
express?
have one question. So listening to all this, does that mean if we go with this resolution, can we still spend some EDST money in the commercial area on West Florissant? Or not?
That has nothing to do with this resolution. That has to do with the state law. And that's a good question.
Okay, because that's defined as commercial, not DT. No,
I
correct.
think retail development, we need to have a conversation about this in the EDST commission, or maybe you guys do, but it's a question of what the state law says. We might even need to ask the Department of Revenue for an interpretation of that, because they don't define downtown in the statute, if I remember correctly. And since they don't define it, what is our downtown? And how would we establish our downtown for the purpose of properly applying these funds? We already got in trouble with EDST funds once, so we want to make sure we do this right, and maybe that's something to check into.
Yeah.
Would you explain, excuse me, would you explain how we got in trouble? Because we didn't, it all depends on how you say trouble. Only thing happened is they did not make a report on time. And when they made the report, the state of Missouri just waived the report.
We were spending money and we weren't having EDST commission meetings, which are required by law. And they gave us a letter of abatement and waived the penalties, but you know.
Councilwoman Noor has her hand up. Councilwoman Noor.
You hear me? Yeah, I would like clarification on if EDST funds can be used.
Can you speak up? I can't, you're real faint.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I would like clarification if EDST funds can be used on West Florissant, in that area, the commercial area, because I can recall when a Fran Griffin was the council person representing Ward 3, I had just began on council. That was a discussion that we had, and we had a previous city manager. And I specifically recall being told that we could not. So, I mean, of course, I want that for Ward 3, but I definitely support clarification on that. As far as this resolution, I do think we need to listen to our attorney. That's why the city has an attorney to guide us. And if there's no point in this resolution, you know, it's just we need to listen to the city attorney, in my opinion.
Thank you. Councilman Palmer.
I also wanted to provide some insight into when it was discussed that the city was in trouble with the state. It wasn't so much about reporting. The enacting legislation dictates that before a dime is spent of funds, that there be a board established comprised of those members we're discussing now. And that didn't happen for at least 5 or 6 years. And that was what my biggest issue is that we didn't have the representation from that board. So it was being just treated as like a slush fund on the city side to bolster other deficiencies within the budget. So we were actually in violation of state law spending any money for the first 5 or 6 years when there was actually no members seated on this board.
The economic development sales tax was passed in 2016. And the board did not get formed until 2020. So that was the previous mayor didn't form the board, but the board was formed in 2020. We have used economic development sales tax money, $100,000 on nuisance properties, tearing them down. We have used economic development sales tax money on STPs, and that is surface transportation. What it is when we go out for a grant, our STPs are 2080. We have to do the $20,000 match, the 20% match, and we have been matching it with EDST. Is that not correct? We still have STDs out there that needs to be matched. So The fund has been used to improve the city of Ferguson. And this didn't come about until the CFO of the Ferguson Florissant School District resigned. And that was the second one we had that resigned. And so my recommendation was look for a CFO, a chief finance officer. Basically, we get about $1.5 million a year on that 0.5% sales tax to be used. The Economic Development Sales Tax Board is an advisory board. They make a recommendation and they send their recommendations to the council and the council vote them up or vote them down. So it's just an advisory board. So any other questions? Any other comments? Councilman Kassoff.
You said your recommendation was that we find a CFO. That's precisely the problem. We don't get to make a recommendation. If the school districts confer and they decide that they want to send the night janitor, we have nothing to say about that under state law. And again, we're spending a lot of time on something that's very small, and I'd like to call the question. But you sound like you're ready to.
We are on the question. It has been properly moved and second, and I call for questions. And then I asked, I got something in my eye. I asked the city manager for his opinion. The attorney made his opinion. Councilwoman Noor made her opinion. Councilman Palmer made his opinion. Councilwoman Lipka made her opinion. And I'm asking if there are any more questions. And my question is, are we going with the advice of our attorney?
It's been moved and seconded to pass the bill as written.
We haven't voted yet.
I call the question.
We haven't voted yet. So Clerk Pittman, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Kassoff.
Aye.
Councilman Williams.
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah.
No.
Mayor Jones.
No.
Councilman Palmer.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka.
No.
4 yeses, 3 nos.
That's correct.
Resolution 7225 passes. Let's move to resolution number 2025-03. Without objections, it be introduced by Mayor Ella Jones. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Sure thing. Resolution number 2025-03. A resolution supporting the city of Ferguson authorizing the mayor/city manager to execute the necessary documents for forwarding the project proposal application and later execute an agreement for the Elkins Atmore Woodwind project, federally funded through 2025 through 2028 Surface Transportation Program, suballocated program grant commission, sorry.
City manager.
Yeah, Mayor, Council. This is part of the packet itself. We have to show that council's behind this project. And this would be for the area that has become a very big cut through by Home Depot. We greatly need this done. So staff would like to see if this passed if possible.
Okay, is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Linda Lipka. I'm pushing this one through.
Second.
I have one quick question. So.
Councilman Williams.
So it says mayor, city manager. So in our charter, it's the city manager that makes the decisions. The mayor is like a figurehead and breaks the time vote. So why does it say?
The mayor does not break a time vote in a charter situation.
And some of these, like ran into this week, it will call for the mayor. It all depends if it's the mayor or the city manager. Or the last signature. Because there are some times that with it being federal, it may be the mayor instead of the city manager. Even though we are a city manager run government, which I believe, I think St. Louis County was gonna require the mayor, but then they changed and went back to the city manager. So this is basically just to having both of us on there is gonna make it so that we don't have to come back and say, oh, now we just need the mayor or the city manager will cover it.
The grant calls out chief elected official.
Councilwoman Lipka?
So I just want to point out to anyone who's listening, especially the residents in Ferguson Woods. So I am super excited about this being a resolution, and I'm very much hoping that this will get done because this is the third time we've made this request for this community. And prior to the changes on Purcell and Dunn Road and everything else, prior to that, we were trying to get this done because those roads are very, very, that's a part of Ward 1 that gets forgotten. And those people need those roads fixed. And then when the changes happened, it was just exploded and multiplied in how much it was used. It was a bad situation before, and it went from bad to horrendous. And those people deserve this. And I'm super happy that this is on here again. And I would say that since I became a Council person, I've been fighting for this. Phaedra Nelson fought for this. Ella fought for this from council to mayor. And the reason it's up here for a third time is because our mayor is working with the East-West Gateway. And so we have some influence now, and hopefully this STP will go through. And when we lost it the second time, we lost it by a very, very narrow margin. I mean, it was extremely small margin. And so this time, I really hope it's gonna go through. And since the second time to this time, we lost by a small margin. And in that time frame, the need for it has grown tremendously and is very, very apparent. Would you agree, Chief Hampton? And so, yes, just want to say that this is something that I hope to see get through. I won't be here when it finally gets approved, but I just want the people in Ferguson Woods to know this is something I never quit working on, nor has the mayor, nor has past council Ward 1 members.
Councilwoman Noor has her hand up and Councilman Palmer.
Okay, I definitely support this. I support it. I think this is great for Ward 1 for Ferguson Woods. I would like to ask, what is the criteria though for streets to be approved for the STP? And is there an opportunity at this time, do you think in the future, for any streets in Ward 3 if they would qualify for a STP recommendation or approval?
Yes, I can answer that. So there's a lot that goes into it, and we have done a lot of streets in Ward 3 in STP. Currently, we are out of STP streets in Ward 3, but Corey is right now looking to see what streets we can do. I believe Paul may be a portion of 3, I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but if it is, that would be that's the next resolution. But we have done all the streets we could and can right now currently in Ward 3 through STP.
And I would also say that when we were trying to do this in the past, the very first time, we knew it was a cut through, but it didn't have enough traffic pattern to prove that. And then the second time was the beginning of the construction of the Purcell and Dunn situation. And the cut through was becoming very apparent, but the timing of the second grant process and the submitting and the numbers and so forth, that's why I say we were very, very close. I mean, like we were within inches. This time between then and now, the cut through is tremendously obvious. And so Councilwoman Noah, that's what that was one of the criteria, was that we had to prove it was becoming a secondary thoroughfare through a neighborhood. And that's what it has definitely become.
Councilman Palmer.
I have a couple questions for the city manager and his staff about this. As Councilwoman Lipka alluded to, we've already applied for this on multiple occasions and we were not approved. are these grant applications for surface improvements, they have a scoring system, is that correct?
That is correct, and we have changed our application to reflect it, to get the correct numbers that we need.
And your
So-
mayor been appointed to the board to advocate.
Can I continue, Madam Mayor?
Mhm.
My next question is, give me the brief description of maybe the top 5 things they look for when they score these applications.
It's gonna be, I know the amount of traffic, the times the traffic is during the day, the condition of the current street, and I believe the substructure, and, I can get to the other one, I can email it out to everyone and give it to Octavia. as well.
That leads me to my next question is, after the outrage from those residents, the last time we missed this by a few points, the city did improve those roads by replacing street slabs. Is that correct?
Yeah, we replaced the ones that had, large cavities underneath them. We did not replace all. We went after the most dangerous ones because we couldn't even get a fire truck down there, and that was one of our fears.
Now, with the increased traffic demand due to the restructuring of 270 and the service roads, are we concerned that the improvements we did to the street is going to hurt our score where we gain points elsewhere? Are we going to lose points due to the condition improving?
So we believe that was part of the problem last time. But we also had to, we explained a little bit more why those repairs were needed at the time, where we did not do that last time.
Okay, and my final question would be, are there other roads within the city? Are we limited to the number of STP grants we can put forward in a year?
So my understanding is no, but we're limited to the streets that STP is allocated for. Another street that we're trying to go for is College Drive. We definitely believe that it has the traffic, especially now the way Purcell is. But right now it's not designated STP street. That's what Corey, myself, and Dave are currently trying to do, because that street is very severely beaten up because of the construction work that the community college has put on and the increased traffic.
So should this not be approved again, let's hope it is, but if it's not, are we going to continue to apply for this? Are we going to go address other streets that might qualify?
So we're looking at all the streets that we can try to get qualified right now, and we're reassessing some of the streets that we can potentially do in the next couple of years. And,
Okay.
you know,
Has
we're gonna
an
see- we
engineering
have to get
firm,
traffic counters. They have to meet certain amount of criteria of vehicles driving on the roadway as well. And that which will eliminate some of those neighborhood streets. But like what we're going for, since it is a big cut through, that has only increased the number of vehicles, and that's why we believe we have a better shot at this one.
I understand. Has an engineer been hired to help us with these application packets as they have in the past?
Yes,
Who is that?
Weiss. He's helping us just with the application portion.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I just would like to say East-West Gateway has been working with Corey, and they have been working with Miss Shirley to make certain that the applications come pretty good. City manager.
Yeah, also touching on the engineer, that is also reimbursed through the grant itself. And also we have to have an engineer when we submit this project.
When we finally get a city engineer, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, we do. Okay.
We are working on that.
I know.
Any other questions, any other comments at this point? At this time, I request a motion and a second for approval. Okay, Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Lister,
Aye.
Councilman Cassell,
Aye.
Councilman Williams,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette. Aye. Councilwoman Noah,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye. Resolution number 2025-3 passes. We move to resolution number 2025-4. Without
Aye.
objection, I'll introduce this resolution by Mayor Ella Jones. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution by the title?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2025-04. A resolution supporting the city of Ferguson, authorizing the mayor/city manager to execute the necessary documents for forwarding the project proposal application and later execute the agreement for the Paul Avenue project, federally funded through 2025 through 2028 Surface Transportation Program Suballocated Program Grant Commission.
City manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this, as I just spoke on, this is a street that we have not gone before. Tried to get on STP, and with the redoing of Washington or Elizabeth all the way down to the train trestle, this is a perfect opportunity for us to go after this.
Any questions for the city manager? Is there a motion and a second for approval?
So moved.
Second, Naquita Noah.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Castle,
Aye.
Councilman Williams,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Lipta.
Aye.
Resolution number 2025-04 passes. We move to resolution number 2025-05. Without objection, it will be introduced by Mayor Ella Jones. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2025-05. A resolution of the city of Ferguson, Missouri regarding the sale of city-owned lots and authorizing the city manager to effectuate such sales.
City manager.
Yes, Mayor, on this one, Dave has worked on this one, so I'm gonna refer to Dave on this resolution.
Mayor, City Council, as you're aware, we passed a resolution several weeks ago to auction off properties located on South Florissant Road that were bunched together. We were looking at the properties about a week ago and noticed that Maurice is really close in proximity. It made sense to get rid of at the same time we did the other auctions, so that's why this is before you tonight.
Councilwoman Lipka.
So I know when we were talking in the past about those different properties, we were also talking about the fact that they're very small footprints. And so we were gonna rezone to try and put a couple together and make them a bigger footprint so that they were more, what is the right word I'm looking for?
Appealing.
Thank you. Appealing for potential contractors and builders. Is this one gonna be able to do that? No? Okay. And is it a smaller footprint as well?
It's a smaller footprint and honestly, it's wooded. The goal here is just to get it back on the tax roll so that we're collecting taxes on it.
Free house there.
Any other questions? Hear none. Question a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
Second, Linda Lipka.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Castle.
Aye.
Councilman Williams,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Lipta.
Aye.
Resolution number 2025-05 passes. We don't have any bills for first reading. We have bills for second reading. Listening to the public comments tonight, most of the public comments from the resident asks that certain bills be put in for a special meeting so they can be discussed with the staff and with the city manager. So they mentioned bill number 7301 and 7302. Councilman Cassoff moved bill 7303 off the agenda. So what is your pleasure? Council,
Council, yeah.
Councilwoman Lipka.
So as far as what I would like, we're all allowed to give our opinions, correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so for me, I would like to maintain Bill 7301 on tonight's agenda. That bill does not change a ton of things. It simply takes out it gives more authority for dogs in general and it takes out signifying one particular breed. And so that is something that has long been a concern of many people in Ferguson, especially the fact that dogs are only as mean as you train them to be. So I have a dog that is considered more dangerous than a pit bull. And I train it to protect. So I don't, but it's also the biggest love bug you'll ever meet and will lick you to death. So it's only on particular words that the dog will respond. And it's only in a particular extreme dangerous situation. Outside of that, it's never, and the words have never been used. So I don't even know if she remembers them. So personally, I would like to maintain 7301. I would like to take 7302 and 7304 into a longer discussion because I do know that staff has some things they would like to share with us, talk to us about as a council. And this does affect everybody as a whole. So I would like the opportunity to not only hear from the community, but also to hear from the staff. And as far as hearing from the community, that is something that is important. And last Tuesday, I had every intention of being here. And I, at the very last minute, had to reach out to the mayor and to the staff to let them know I could not be here because I had to maintain my mother's care. So everybody I thought that was going to be able to help me that night to take care of her fell through. So I was not able to be here. It wasn't because I didn't want to be, it wasn't because I didn't care, and I didn't say anything the meeting before because I intended to be here. So please take that and think about it. But yeah, that's my input, ma'am.
Councilman Williams.
Well, I don't think it needs to be a special session. It needs to be a town hall format
Okay.
because special session, you guys get 3 minutes. When that buzzer goes off, that's it. We can't interrupt. And in the end, we give our spiel. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a town hall format where we can have dialogue back and forth, not constrained by the books, regular council meeting. So I think we should have that, but the format should be a town hall meeting. And I wasn't here on purpose because we came to certain people saying, hey, let's not have the special session. Let's have a town hall so we can have a dialogue. So the citizens don't have 3 minutes. They can go back and forth. That was rejected. So that's why I didn't show up. So I want to have the meeting, but it should not be a special session. It should be a town hall where people can voice their opinion and without 3 minutes and the buzzer going off.
City manager, I'm gonna give you the floor before I say anything.
So we have been looking at what we can and cannot do. In actuality, I believe the mayor has the right to go ahead and suspend or make the rules kind of so we can have that interaction, whether it's a special meeting, town hall, and or
Thank you. As the mayor, I can call a special meeting, and when we get in a special meeting, I can suspend the rules where we do have a dialogue. A special meeting, put everything on the books. We have minutes, we have the staff here, and we have the council here. That's why the people ask for a special meeting. You can't suspend the rules as the mayor to
Well,
get the dialogue to go.
I would like the rules to be suspended so we can hear what the public has to say. not
The
just-
rules will be suspended once the council decide on a date for a special meeting. Councilman Kassoff, you next, then back to Councilwoman Lipka.
Okay, first of all, a lot of people were concerned about 7303. 7303 has been pulled. It will not come back. If it does, there's going to be town hall meetings and discussions and all sorts of things. It probably won't happen. But if it does, that'll go on multiple times and everybody will have a chance to say something about that. But with all due respect to those who are now expressing concern about other things, we've had 2 meetings. These bills have been published. People come to meetings and public comment Some people have made substantive objections to 7303, and I've heard you, and that bill's been pulled. But let me be clear, the normal legislative process is not that we come to council meetings and say, well, we want to have another meeting to talk about it. We have public comment in place so that you can express your opinion, and we sit up here and listen. Not only that, but we all have a city email address. These bills were introduced a month ago. I've gotten 0 emails in that month from anybody objecting to any of these bills. So, I check my city email every day. I respond to anybody who emails me. And I know everybody here's got an email address. So if you have specific concerns, I love to talk about it. Now, there's been some talk about it on Facebook, but it was about 7303, the occupancy permit bill. A lot of people were upset about the occupancy permit bill, which is why that bill is no longer here. Regarding the dangerous animal ordinance, I think we all agree that a breed-specific law is the wrong way to go. There's a pit bull living in the firehouse right now. And I don't think anybody wants to go take away the firehouse dog. On the other hand, we have problems with dog breeders. We have problems with wild dogs that are injuring people. Thank God, so far, nobody's been killed like the lady down in the city, but we do have a need to regulate dangerous animals, and that hasn't been going on. So 7301, I would like to proceed with it as written. It removes the breed-specific restriction and sets up a more rigorous framework for enforcing against dangerous animals. 7302 is the Airbnb bill. Now, as somebody mentioned, I don't remember who, we have no regulation on Airbnbs right now. Nothing. If I want to open an Airbnb next door to you, there's nothing in the ordinance that prohibits that, other than maybe I might have to register it as a rental property. But a rental property where somebody lives in it from year to year versus basically a hotel next door to you where it's different people every day is a different thing. That's why there's municipalities all over the place that have specific regulations about short-term rentals. 7302 was written regarding the work of other municipalities. A lot of that's been reviewed. It's been out there for a month for public comment, and I'd like to proceed with that as written. And finally, 7304. 7304 is a sunshine law bill. And any of y'all that have known me for very long know that the sunshine law is one of my pet laws. I believe government should be transparent and that you as residents should have easy access to government information. So what 7304 does 2 things. If a sunshine request is $5 or less, instead of holding it and telling you got to come down and pay the accounting office $1.50, and then it goes from Octavia down to accounting, back up to Octavia, so the city can collect $1.50. If you make a little request like that, we're going to satisfy it immediately and at no cost. That's better transparency for the residents of the city. And the second thing that 7304 does is it allows for council members who are engaging in official council business to have sunshine requests filled at no cost. Now, I've talked to legislators in other places, and the normal thing is for a legislator to do their fiduciary duty to the city, they have to be able to access the city's records. Right now, if I, as a member of council, have a question about something in the city's records, I have to go file a sunshine request and pay for it. We don't just walk into the office and say, hey, accounting clerk, give me this file. We have to file a sunshine request, but we have to pay for it. Now, for all the work we do on council, we get $250 a month, okay? expecting us to pay when, if I'm doing a sunshine request for some personal business, whole different story. But if I'm doing it for council business, that's the city's business. And I'm doing that to financially protect the residents of this city, which is my job. A couple of years ago, we had a situation with a nuisance abatement contractor who was overcharging the city. And the only reason I found out about it is that somebody who owns property in the city got a bill and he showed it to me. And there was another mistake on the bill, but I looked at the bill and they said, hey, that guy's charging us $180 an hour for grass cutting and he's only supposed to be charging 90 according to the contract. So I went and asked the city manager to pull the bills. He did so as a courtesy, but as a member of city council, I would have had no right to do that. And so I believe that 7304, in order to provide more transparency for the residents and in order to enable council members to do their fiduciary duty to the residents of this city, that it should proceed as written. And so if my colleagues will indulge me, 7301, 7302, and 7304, I would like to proceed with this evening.
Councilwoman Noah.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Hopefully everyone can hear me well.
Just a little louder.
So last week we met and there was not a quorum. And while I do not want to prolong the bills, I mean, it's only fair to meet with our residents. Last week we met in the cold. It was very cold. We came to the city hall, residents came out, they spoke. We did not have a quorum. It was unfortunate. Had we had a quorum, we would be proceeding possibly with voting on these bills. Residents came out, they spoke from their hearts. We listened, and we need to meet with residents to discuss these bills. And, I'm not trying to be messy with my next comment. I'm really not. But respectfully, Councilman Cassoff, I hear you when you speak about the council pay. But you have, told me several times, and I'm paraphrasing, that you would do this work for free. You have many times explained to me that you suggested that we just give up our council pay. So, I do think we need to discuss these bills. And I support that, and we need to listen to our residents because they are taxpayers. So, that's it. We need to prolong this and have a meeting and listen to our residents.
Let me ask, Octavia, who is the city clerk and the keeper of the records. Has any council member ever come to you about a bill or anything you charged them for? I've been here 10 years. Have you charged them for anything?
No, I think we have a couple different things going on. So if I'm approached by anyone, council, citizen, whomever, and you say it's pursuant to the Sunshine Law, well, then we're gonna go through the Sunshine Law process. And in that process, then there are gonna be fees. But now, when you talk about the process for council requesting information, well, hearing it like this is kind of new to me. So typically when council wants something, they go to the city manager and they get, what it is that they want. Now I guess if they're unable to get it that way, then they sunshine it. And then, then now here we go through the sunshine process. Because if you come through the city clerk's office, I don't have the authority to go to any department and say, and direct them to give me or whatever the case may be. So you would go to the city manager's office to get the records that you want. Now, in previous conversations we've had to keep staff out of, any of the politics, what has been agreed upon, from my understanding, is the council, if the council all agrees on whatever the information is, then yes, staff would do the research to pull the information up. However, if council did not all agree, you all did not, or the council did not want staff to utilize all the resources to pull up some information that one individual was looking for. So in those cases, yes, they would go through the sunshine law.
Okay, city manager, has any council person come to your attention and asked you for some information from the city and that you told them they had to go to Drew the Sunshine, or you did not forward their request to the city clerk to go to the department heads to get the information?
I think there was one a couple weeks ago and it was a police report. And that was all. And I said you had to go through proper channels for that.
But usually when there's consensus on the council about a certain bill or certain information, they could come to you and get the information without a resolution. Is that not correct?
I'll get the information.
Okay. And number two, these bills have not been out a month. The first reading was January the 10th. And from January the 10th to January the 28th, it's 2 weeks. That's not a month. Councilman Kassoff, Councilwoman Lipka.
So, I'm gonna go back to, I want to proceed with 7301 tonight, but the thing about 7302, is you want to call it the Airbnb or Verbo bill. I have always, and Councilwoman Ravenette can tell you, even way back when, before these other people got on council, this was a conversation I wanted to have back then. And when Elliot Leapson was here, Jeffrey Bloom was here, David Williams was here, I had this conversation with those three. And we found that there was a lot, it was a spider web. There's a lot of different things you have to look into. But it's a very necessary conversation. It's a very necessary ordinance. And I agree with Councilman Kassoff that we need to get this ordinance on the agenda. But I also feel that there is a lot more voices I want to hear on this because I've done the homework. I've read what other cities are doing. I'm paying attention to what other communities around us are doing. I'm paying attention to what Ladue and Chesterfield and Wildwood is doing. When Councilman Kassoff sent the email out, and it was a great email, Assistant City Manager Dave Musgrave came back with some questions. I was like, whoa, those are great questions. I didn't even think of those. And so, you know, those two, then Councilman Kassoff answered a lot of his questions, and I appreciate that, but that was done in email. And the questions were very valid and the answers were very good. But this is a conversation that's gonna affect the people in this community that maybe want to turn a room into a Verbo or a room into an Airbnb. You know, if you want to be the Alabama football coach and have a list of rules that you can't do in his home, you know, you also have to have the legal rules that you can't do in the city of Ferguson. We've also seen situations where these types of laws or rules or ordinances have not been established. And then you see parties happening in an office building in downtown St. Louis, and you see a bunch of kids break out into a fight, and then a gunfight happens and kids die. I mean, that's the extreme. We also have situations where people are taking unoccupiable buildings in our community and renting them out for parties. That's not allowed either. So we have to have boundaries. And I agree with Councilman Kassoff. This is a very valid ordinance and it's a very valuable ordinance, but I feel like there's a lot more conversation. And as Mr. Franklin said, he does his homework. I do my homework too. And we've got a lot more to talk about on this particular issue, in my opinion, and it's simply my opinion. As far as 7304 goes, the way Councilman Kassoff has written it, I don't see a problem. But when our staff says we would like to have a conversation with the council, I would like to hear them. So that's where I am.
So let me make a long story short. I'll call the bill off and you could say you want to refer to the special meeting or we'll just proceed. So
Okay.
let's start at bill number 7301.
Okay.
What do you want to do with bill number 7301?
Are we going person by person?
Yes.
Okay. Who are you starting with?
Why aren't we
David.
asking? Why aren't we asking for a motion in a second?
I didn't see your hand up. Okay.
I mean, why aren't we asking for a motion in a second? Why are we doing a straw man poll for the second reading?
Because when you go to a motion in a second, you read the bill all the way through with forces a roll call. When the way I'm going about it is asking people, do they want the bill to proceed all the way through? Or do we want to refer it over to a special meeting?
Is this how we're gonna do all the bills now?
No, these particular bills that are very controversial and the people want to hear more about the bills, along with some council member wants to discuss it, and staff has not had adequate time to voice their opinion. Are we gonna start putting bills out that staff does not have adequate input? And if so, then let's fire all the staff, because we ain't gonna need them after a while if we think council
Madam
can do
Mayor,
it all.
Madam Mayor, I think that we've heard that 7301 and 7304 are not controversial. My opinion is to let those two go through and we can discuss 7302 about the Airbnb later. There's my opinion.
Councilman Palmer,
I make a motion to approve Bill 7301 as written.
Second.
it's been properly moved and second to read bill number 7301 for the second time and place it upon its passage. Attorney, would you please read the bill?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7301, an ordinance amending certain sections within Article 2, Section 6-12, and removing Section 6-21 of Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Ferguson relating to the regulation of dangerous animals in the City of Ferguson.
City Manager.
Mayor and Council, I'll refer to, I believe it was Nick that introduced this, correct? Because I don't know everything about it, so I'll let Nick.
Now we got a city manager who does not have all the information he really want about this bill. You still want this bill to pass?
That's not mine.
Okay, Clerk Pittman, call the roll, please.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Lipton,
Aye.
Councilman Cassoff,
Aye.
Councilman Williams,
No.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah,
No.
Mayor Jones.
No. How many?
There's 3 no and 4 yes.
Bill number 7301 passes. We move to bill number 7302. This is the Airbnb.
I make a motion that we table this bill.
Second.
It's been a motion on the floor to table bill 7302. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, David Williams.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill number 7302 has been tabled. We move to bill number 7303, was withdrawn earlier. We go to bill number 7304. Requesting a motion and a second to read the bill the second time and place it upon its passage.
I'd like to make a move to table this one as well.
It has been a motion on the floor to table 7304. Is there a second?
Second, Naquita Noah.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Bill number 7304 is tabled. We move to bill number 7305. Request a motion and a second to read the bill a second time and place it upon its passage. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
7305.
Yes, I make a motion to pass this bill.
Is there a second?
This is the one on the property.
Yes.
6 Burdell Court.
Burdell Court. So this is to put on the sale for.
Second, David Williams.
Attorney Terry, could you please read the bill?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7305, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Ferguson, Missouri to execute the deed and acknowledge other documents in order for the real properties to be transferred to the city of Ferguson, or excuse me, to the city for city development and or beautification.
City Manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council. this is also an potential development of the new 501 or the new plaza down there. If you look at the house currently, it's in a real bad shape, has no windows, has no doors. So we made the best deal we could. And I think this would be a good purchase for the city. Because then we would own the property outright.
Any other comments? Any other questions?
Are you
Clerk
sure we don't
Pittman,
need a
could you
work
please
session
call
for
the
this?
roll?
You have one from.
Okay,
Hey, Heather, did you have a question?
I was just asking, are you sure we don't need a work session for this one?
I think so too. It
No.
should go, because there is some controversy about 6 Burdell Court.
This isn't 6 Burdell Court.
It is six.
This is
sorry.
6 Burdell Court.
Sorry. I'm getting it confused with the other property.
Yeah, there's a lady who says the city stole it from her.
So I can talk on that.
Councilwoman, wait a minute, Councilwoman Robinette, would you please finish your statement?
I was just being facetious. Like, I just want to know if every bill we're gonna have needs a town hall or a special meeting. I mean, this one is pretty cut and dry. I would hope that it goes through. My
Okay,
apologies.
no problem. Councilwoman Litka.
So I know you have something to say. Can I give you the floor and then I will respond then? Go ahead.
Okay, so the only controversy about this property is somebody saying it's her property. It is not her property. During the FEMA buyout, the property was lost. So FEMA, we do not take any money from FEMA for your property. It has changed hands 3 or 4 times, and each time they do title search when it changes hands. It is not her property. It is not the city's currently, and we would like to buy this property.
All right, so can I now go?
Mhm.
So, I would like to move forward with this bill. I was here when she came to our comments. I was here when she said all that. We've actually had 2 city managers look into this issue. And both times it has been proven and shown that that is not the case. She does not own the property. The title searches show that. And if she did own the property, then she owes the city a lot of money for the upkeep of that house.
Well, I'd just like to share the city manager, myself, and the city clerk was on the phone with her today. And the city manager tried to explain to her, and she did not want to listen. So let's move forward.
Doesn't mean she owns it.
Let's move forward. It has been, Clerk Pittman, did we get a motion in a second? Okay, Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Lister,
Aye.
Councilman Cassoff,
Abstain.
Councilman Williams,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah,
Abstain.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Palmer. Councilman Palmer, Councilman Palmer,
Oh, there he is.
I had to step away to use the restroom. What are we voting on? Is it Burdell Court?
yes.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes and 2 abstains.
Correct.
Bill number 7305 passes. We move to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Anyone for unfinished business? Here none. We move to new business. Councilman Williams?
So I just got custody of my son. He's 12, he's autistic. And I took him to this new place downtown Ferguson. It's called Gamers Island. And 2 lovely sisters own that place. And so I think we need to support that. Maybe if we can do some funds with the community center because they do summer camps and things of that nature. And I know our summer camp enrollment is full. A lot of people can't get in. But they have games. My son loves the program. So they have PCs, the program, they have Legos. It's a safe split. It's a safe place for the kids. So they're not out on the street. And they had an event a couple of weeks ago and they had a grant. So they gave free hot dogs and hamburgers. So I think that's a great place for the youth of Ferguson to participate in. So that's it. So it's literally a new business and I hope they can survive because what they're doing, they're really focusing on the youth.
The police department worked with that particular
Oh,
business.
Did they
along
donate
with-
the funds for that?
Along with the fire department, they gave a big Halloween party for everybody down there.
Oh, cool.
And periodically they go there
All right.
to check on the people. Okay, any other new business? I would like for everybody to pull out your calendar, see if you come up with a date for a special meeting with the rules that I will suspend at that time.
Is the staff have a date that would work for them first?
We'll make it.
You have a city manager?
We'll make any date. You guys let us.
Okay, council come up with a
You
date,
guys are more.
whatever it is, I have an eraser.
So, Mayor, I'm gonna put out, let's see. Octavia, what happens on Monday nights?
It all depends on the Monday, potentially court. If you guys can maybe give me 2 days right now.
So I was gonna say February 3rd or February 10th.
I vote for the 10th.
Do we want to move expeditiously or do we want to go another 2 weeks? Maybe that should have been my question.
If we go the 10th, it's the day before the February council meeting, so we would have some decisions or ideas.
Okay. Okay,
And I feel like an auctioneer. Do I hear another 10th? Do I hear another 10th? Got 2 here. Do I hear another one?
So they do have court in this room on February the 10th.
No, that won't work. Okay.
I mean, unless we use another space, but they do have court here.
We want people to be able to hear and this sound system's nice. What about February?
what
I
is
have
the
Wednesdays
third?
open. Can I just tell you, I have Wednesdays open. Maybe the 5th, the 12th is gonna be after the next meeting,
The 5th?
but the 5th looks like it's open.
Feel like I ain't here, I'm tired.
That guy I'm married to, that's.
Oh, okay,
Oh, okay.
But I mean, he's waited on other things in his life. He can wait on that too.
okay.
Thursday the 6th.
Thursday the 6th?
I can do the 6th. What about you, Naquita? Are you good?
Councilwoman Nora could do the 6th. Whatever I'm doing, I just threw it out the window.
Heather, are you in New Jersey again?
No, I should be in Ferguson.
Oh, okay,
Are you available though?
I will make myself available.
okay. Councilwoman Robinette say the 6th, Councilwoman Nora say the 6th, Councilwoman Lipka say the 6th, Mayor Ella Jones is the 6th, Councilman Williams,
I'm fine with the 6, man.
Councilman Williams with the 6th, Councilman Palmer.
I should be able to make something work on the
Okay,
6th.
Councilman Palmer is for the 6th, Councilman Castle.
That's fine.
Okay. February the 6th, special meeting. When we get to the meeting, I'll let you know how I suspended and how it will apply. That's done. Let's,
What time?
6 o'clock, we're gonna move at 6 o'clock. Here in the council chambers. 6 o'clock. Miscellaneous. Councilwoman Noor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. You all, I am talking as loud as I can, okay? I would like to thank the city manager and the assistant city manager for coming on Zoom last night to the, for zooming in, excuse me, to the Southwest Ward 3 Ferguson, meeting. We had a small crowd, but we had about 7 residents who attended, and it was productive. So I thank you, city manager and assistant city manager, for caring enough to come and speak to the residents and answer their concerns. At the events at the community center on February 1, which is this Saturday, there will be a community event. I'm just pulling up my notes. It's the second annual health and housing event, Fresh February Neighborhood Empowerment. And it's going to be at the Ferguson Community Center, 1050 Smith Avenue, from 10 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. So hopefully you all can attend. And the next Forest Wood meeting is the first Tuesday in February at 7 p.m. at Emmaus Bible Chapel in person and online. And you all can go to fergusoncity.com. I believe that the information is always posted, the Zoom information. Next, the Ferguson Human Rights Commission Advocate of the Year Award nomination closes on January 1. I'm sorry, on 1/31 of this month. So if you all have any nominations that you would like to submit to the Ferguson Human Rights Commission, please get those in. The information is on the website. I have also shared it on I Care About Ferguson, or if anyone has any questions, they can email me at nnoah@fergusoncity.com, or our clerk, Octavia, or the chair, who is Emily. I'm not going to give out her email information, but if you email me, I can connect you with her. And lastly, I just have a quick question for the city manager. Just bear with me one moment. City manager, regarding the MSD project at the creek, the excavating that's occurring now, you can see the area from off of Paul in the back of Lee. Do you know if there will be one of those neon temporary fencing installed now? And when they're finished with the work, will there be a permanent fence or barrier installed around the creek?
That's all.
Where's the location at?
That's the one off Paul.
The one off Paul, and it's the back of Lee, but you can see it right there off Paul, between Paul and Lee.
Yeah, I believe if there was a fence there, they're gonna replace the fence. If there was not a fence, I do not believe they're gonna put a fence in, but I can check on that to make sure.
Okay, would you please, because
Because I know they're doing the bank stabilization.
Mhm.
And so I would imagine if you already had a fence there, they're gonna put it back up. But I will check on that, see if they will do additional.
Okay, thank you, and then with the temporary fencing, I mean, if they could do something now, because when you drive past there and it's dark, a car could accidentally curve over there. I mean, if they could do just a little something, but if not, but that's.
We
Mhm.
can do that, but I don't know if that orange fencing will stop the car, but I will talk to them, see what they can do.
No, sir, it won't stop the car, but it could be like, hey, it could be preventative. No, you're right. It's not going to stop it, but thank you, again, city manager and assistant city manager, for attending the meeting last night. And everyone be well. Have a good week.
Thank you, Councilwoman Noah. Councilman Palmer,
I have nothing tonight.
Councilman Cassoff.
Can we let Councilor Robinette go first? Because she's about to lose her conference room and get kicked out of this meeting.
Okay, Councilwoman Robinette.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Councilman Cassoff.
Wanted to give her a chance.
Councilman
Mayor.
Cassoff.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple of things I want to address quickly that were brought up this evening.
3 minutes, please.
First of all, Mr. Iwanofu accused me of, quote, publishing his address and phone number on social media. What was put on social media was a copy of a lawsuit that Mr. Iwanofu filed. Nobody doxed him. It was a copy of a lawsuit that he filed, and you can go to the county website and see the same lawsuit. So I wanted to clear that up, lest anybody think I'm doing something nefarious. He also claimed that Mr. Palmer and I have interfered with staff. I can tell you for an absolute fact, I don't ever speak with staff except through the city manager. It's been one of the things I hate about being on council, because back before I was on council, if I walked through the park and something was messed up, I could text the parks director. Now I'm forbidden from doing that, and it all has to go through Mr. Hampton, who's a very busy man, but I do it. I never direct anybody, period. And the only other thing I have to say is, look, if 2 weeks between first and second reading is really not enough time for staff to consider bills, for legal to review bills and get back to us before the meeting itself, and for the residents of the city to look at the bills and digest them and communicate with council members, maybe what we need to do is start having council meetings once a month. Because the charter requires that we have them at least once a month. It doesn't require that they be every 2 weeks. The reason why there's only 2 weeks between first and second reading is because we have all these extra meetings. So if that's too fast for everybody involved, maybe we should go to once a month council meetings. Because what I don't like is people coming in here and saying they didn't have enough time and we got to have an extra side meeting to talk about it. Let's give everybody all the time they need. That's just something to think about. I'm fine with that. That's all I've got this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Kassoff. Councilwoman Lipka.
So I agree with you, Mr. Kassoff, to a certain extent, but on some issues over the 9 years that I've been sitting here, typically we do run at a decent pace. There was a little stretch time there when we had some other council members that kept tabling things. I did table tonight twice. But I think some of these things just need more time, and I understand your frustration. And I apologize for adding to it, but I also think that this is important and people need a little more time on these things. And that's just kind of how it falls. In regards to Ms. Klein's comment about the prayer. So what happened there, Ms. Klein's, and I understand, you know, if you didn't know, you didn't know, right? But when Officer Brown was hurt and we were as a community really supporting him, that was when I asked the mayor, could we say something for our officers during prayer? And she said yes. And so I asked her, can we do this until he is back home in Ferguson? And she said yes. So in the time frame, we've also had other things happen in the world, and we always want to put out support to our other staff members so that we pray that they never are in the same position that Officer Brown is in. So I don't have to ask your permission. I have to ask the mayor's. I have to ask the mayor.
Come on, let's keep
permission,
going.
and that's who I did. So I just wanted to give you that explanation. I'm not trying to argue with you, nor will I stop until the mayor says I should. And then as far as the comments about electioneering, I wasn't electioneering. I was simply, we were asked directly to make a motion to remove a council member. And my comment was that won't happen and that they should fight it out amongst themselves, just like every one of us have when we ran for office. So I've also had legal situations. The city didn't stand behind it. I had to deal with that. And so it's the way things work. So just work through it and run your election. And so if you think I was electioneering, I apologize because our definitions are, no, I do not. And our definitions are different. So everybody have a wonderful rest of the year. Enjoy your Super Bowl. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Councilman Williams. Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka.
Okay, I'm glad 7301 passed, because I don't think you should single out one breed of dog. But citizens do have a right to petition their government. I wish it was tabled so we can hear the opinions of the citizens, but I'm not against singling out one single breed. Also, I'm glad that we're having the session, and the rules are going to be suspended so we can get dialogue. And, you know, I don't want to put the city attorney, Carrie, on the spot, but can you elaborate on the Missouri Hancock Amendment and occupancy permits as it pertains to municipalities in North St. Louis County, if you don't mind, sir?
What exactly would you like me to elaborate on specifically?
So we made closed sessions, the minutes, they're public if you sunshine request. So it's under the opinion that because we have some council members that are landlords, that we want to get rid of the occupancy permits because to enrich their pockets. But fall of 2024, we had a closed session and you informed us some information about that. If you don't mind elaborating.
Oh, the difference between a fee and a tax?
No,
Is that
no,
what you mean?
the Hancock Amendment as it relates to the occupancy permits. But yes, however you want to explain.
Well,
Hancock Amendment is for business, not occupants. That's where it's going.
Well, in any situation where the city, if it has to do with occupancy permits or any permits, you know, if a fee is being charged, it has to be consistent with the service, right? Like, so you can't charge a fee for occupancy permits. Well, you can, but it has to be a reasonable fee. You can't charge more than what it actually takes to actually do the service, right? So whether it's occupancy permits or, you know, licenses, whatever the city does, if the city charges a fee for something, it has to be commensurate with the service that's provided. That's the distinction between a fee and a tax. When the charge starts to outweigh the actual service being provided, then that's when it starts to become more of a tax than a fee, and that's in violation of the Hancock Amendment, right? So, or if there is, you know, just some sort of charge that is not related to a particular service, and you're just being charged for something, that can be looked at as a tax, right? Because the city's not allowed to make profit, right? It's a municipal nonprofit corporation. So at the end of the day, whether it's occupancy permits or whatever licenses or, you know, the city regulates, the city does have a right to charge a fee for those things, but the fee has to be commensurate with the service. And if it's not, if it's larger or if, you know, if there is no service and it's just a fee, that's considered a tax. And that is in violation of the Hancock.
Thank you, sir. And I want to read this. You guys can research it. Racial covenants and occupancy permits are both related to housing discrimination in St. Louis, Missouri. Racial covenants were used to restrict occupancy of certain properties to specific races, while occupancy permits may be used to address health and public safety concerns. History: racial covenants were a key tool of racial segregation in St. Louis in the 20th century. They were often used to place of zoning and building codes. Example: covenants could restrict the placement of garages, buildings, materials, lot setbacks, and utility easements. Current status: as of 2021, about 30 properties in St. Louis will still have racially restrictive covenants. And it goes on. So you guys can do your research. And the last comment I want to make, Nick Kassoff is very intelligent. He can go over the laws back and forth. Sometimes he might say some stuff that might not be appropriate. And so, Adrian, I was there when he said the comment about your wife. And one thing I know, you do not touch a Black woman's hair or comment unless they give you permission. So I felt kind of uneasy about that, and I walked away. I don't think Nick meant any harm by that, but it was offensive, and I took offense to it. I just walked away. So I want to apologize to you, and maybe Nick would like to apologize for that. But if you just listen to the stuff he says, he really has the best interest of Ferguson. So just take away some of the controversy and listen to the words that come out of his mouth. Now, he might be rough around the edges, and he might say something that might be offensive, but he does have the best interest for the city. If you ask him about a law or a resolution, I mean, he can do it basically from memory. So that's all I want to say. And the last thing is, we need to put God first. Always. A lot of times when we don't put God first, that's when the bickering, the sides, and all of that take place. So let's put God first, and everything else will fall in place. Thank you.
Come on, Ms. Brooks. Come on, Ms. Brooks. City Manager.
Yeah, I have one thing. Council, you will be seeing a resolution coming to you Before we can put those properties up for auction, there is a paper street that we need to, vacate. Right now it's gonna go to planning and then, we'll come to you, or, yeah. But we have to get it through the proper chain first. That's all I have.
Okay. Assistant City Manager,
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Attorney Carey,
I don't have anything.
City Clerk,
Yes, I do. 1 second. Just two announcements. First, to all of my board commission members, save the date for the upcoming boards and commission banquet. Typically we do it, we try to do it in the fall. However, I was out this fall. So it is being scheduled for February the 27th at 6 p.m. Invitations will be going out here shortly. Next, the candidates for the April 8th election have been certified to the Board of Election. And they are as follows in this order. This is how they'll be on the ballot. So for Ward 1, Henry Winofu, and Mike Palmer. Ward 2, Jamil Franklin, Larry Robinette, and Ward 3, Lamika Covington and Fran Griffin. And that's all I have there.
okay. I was writing it down. City Clerk, would you do me a favor? Could you please send everyone the resolution that was made for the conduct of council members? Could
Who
you
am I sending it to?
send it to everyone on the council?
Okay. Now, council members, you do have access to it in your Dropbox, but I will.
I know you have it in the Dropbox. Could you send it to every council member?
Okay.
The conduct. We're getting too much back and forth about council members this, council members this, council member this. Maybe all of us need to review the conduct of council members. Other than that, I'll see everybody February the 6th. Have a great night. I'm requesting a motion in a second to adjourn.
So move Naquita Noah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Close.